projectors, back here with bangers again. Today's project is this mandrel for a scroll machine. So I've got a friend of mine, he's a blacksmith, and he's good at blacksmithing, but he's not so handy when it comes to the finer stuff, finer machining work and things like that. So this, you can see here, this is like a scroll mandrel, and it's part of a larger machine that sits flat. You feed your material in, and it creates things like this. So this is out of a bit of flat bar. Now this is old. This is a sample he gave me to repair this thing. And you feed your steel into this thing, and it rolls it up for you like that. Okay, so I'll give you a bit of a better idea. You can see there, this thing would be flat on the machine, and you have it like this. It starts there, you feed your flat stock in. So imagine this is out straight. You feed it in, it sits in this little collet in here, sits in that little gap, and then you start the machine, and the machine starts winding up to a certain point till you've got however much scroll you need. Now, if you have a look at it, this has been broken before. Alright, so I'll show you up in here like this. So I'll show you here like this. You can see here, this one is these two form a nice curve. And as it winds up, this one here, these two here form a nice curve, form a radius. You can see the relationship here between how this was made. This joint here is original. Right, so is this one. So that's, when you get it in the right spot, as the machine's curling it up, it forms that radius for you and then keeps moving. It's actually a pretty complicated piece of kit. Of whoever designed this stuff back in the days, you know, they knew what they were doing. This one's not so bad. Okay, and the relationship between this end piece here and the new bit and this piece here, it's got room to move. Look at that, it goes all the way back, then it can come all the way in till it's tight. So someone's had a real think about that, right? Okay, now we get to this one. I've marked this one because this one is not right. Now you can see that it's been repaired in the past. So look at that, how that never really gets to be a nice radius. And then the relationship again here, look at this gap here. Whoever repaired this hasn't really paid attention to where this hole needs to be. So they've welded new tabs in because it was obviously cracked off, but they haven't paid attention to where the center of this hole needs to be. So look here, we need to have that on there, and we need to have this in closer so it can get, I mean, it can move around and that's fine, but it never, if you look carefully, it never really forms a nice radius. So there we've got a flat spot, even there we've got a flat spot, now a kink. So it never really, it's not nice like these other ones here that just forms a nice and just continuous circle. This one's, again, is not that good, but I reckon I can just grind that smooth and flat. It's not too bad here. The relationship here between these two is not so bad. All right, there's new tabs on there, and he's done a bit of a better job in this one. All right, this one also is being repaired, but it's not so bad. I think we can lineage that into a nice shape as well. This one is a real troublemaker. Like that's cranky as, and you can see that never really forms. It's a bit sloppy. Never really forms a nice radius. So if you see this, see how that winds up, it winds your steel up. And you can see here, you know, it's meant to sit, this one's meant to sit in there. It's just not right. So we're gonna have a look to repair that, and I'll give you an idea. I'll give you an idea quickly of how this would be. That would be like that, that would be like that. That would be all the way there, round a little bit more. So if we just have that like that. So you get an idea of how that would twist that steel up, yeah? This is twisting and twisting the steel up in the machine. These two bolts locate into a motor, and that spins. And when you get to that certain point, you stop the machine, and it's wound your thing up. So you can see here that's got a flat spot on it. That's what we need to address today. So what we could do, and what we probably should do, is get a hold of the manufacturer of this machine, get the specs, find out what sort of steel this is. It's obviously some sort of hard tool steel. I'm no metallurgist. And we should also get the diagram and the specs from this, and the tolerances from the manufacturer. Get it to a machine shop, get it welded up. Actually, probably making new pieces is probably the best option there. And you know, it's obviously whoever did this before knew it was some sort of hard steel, because they brazed those tongues back on, right? And that's kind of how that works. Sometimes you go heating this stuff up too much. If it's hard tool steel, it'll heat up, it'll just crack when you go to put pressure on it. We're not doing any of that, right? We need this going. It's an old machine. We don't want to sink too much time. It's an important machine, and we don't want to sink too much time into it, but we need to get this job done. He needs it back tomorrow because he's got a big job on. So what we're going to do is we're going to tap these pins out. We're going to weld up the holes in the tongues, put it back together in an okay spot, mark it, drill it, and I reckon we can file. We don't have any machining gear around here, but I reckon these are of a big enough tolerance. I can file these and also get the slitting disc in there to make them, you know, just so they fit nicely. All right, and then we'll dress it up and finish it up and get it back to some sort of working order. Okay, let's get into it. So I've got the blocks out of the press to help me do that. And I'm going to, I've marked out the ones that I think are the worst. And we're going to take those apart and get happening. We'll do the biggest one first because that might be easiest. Give us a little bit of a trial. I'm going to press that pin out. All right, so I've got my punches here. This is just so this all sits up nice and flat. Mightn't be enough room to get the pin out. And I'm just going to eyeball that. No, next one up is probably appropriate. So it's going to see if I can't. Yep, beautiful. That'll punch that out. So I'm just going gentle at the start. Oh yeah, she's moving. I'm testing that. I don't want to get that stuck in there. Right. Now I'm against the table. I may be able to just get that out the rest of the way, hanging over the edge. As described. There we go. Where'd that pin go? There it is. You can see that little pin. It expands once it's in there to keep tension on itself. So those little pins there. Alright, so there's that one end. It's been, you can see it's been repaired there at some point. I'm going to try and keep all this orientated. That definitely needs to go. I can see why it wasn't put together properly, because on, say, this original one, there's plenty of room in here for that to move. So he's made these pins, he's made these pieces up, but they're not the right dimensions. So there's no room, like that's seated in hard, and now there's no room. This distance is too big. There's no room for that to go in any deeper. So in fact, I'm gonna leave this one alone, and I'm just gonna weld these two holes up. I'm gonna weld this hole up and this hole up. Grind and flatten it smooth again. Then grind some of this radius off, and then drill until I'm happy with how that sits in there, and go again. Drill it straight through. See how we go. All right, let's get into it. I also noticed that this angle here, this piece here, this needs to be on like an angle back here like this. All right, so what I did was I took one of these, it's not going to be perfect, and I transferred it to the bench. What I'm going to do first is dress this up so that if I put that there perfect, right, sort of thing, that should be, this should have been ground back on that angle. You can just see that extra material there. So it needs to be, that little wedge needs to be ground off. So I'm going to do that. The other side is not so bad, but I'm going to do both. I'm going to set it on, get that angle, and grind that in first. So you can see there, that even better, that's better already just by using the grinder. No file, nothing just yet. You can be quite precise with that grinder if you just really set yourself up and take it easy. There's the other side. Not perfect, but she's better. We'll get into weld. Prep that up ready for welding it, and we'll get into it. So we've managed to weld that up. We welded up that hole. We've also filed it, and we were able to get the grinder in there, and we filed that up. Looks a bit cranky on that side, but I think we're good. So now, test fit this in here. Woo, beautiful. So see how, look at the relationship here also between this one and that one. Look how far apart that is. That's never, that ain't right. That's not how we want it. We want it to be in, yeah? So we're gonna grind this until that can go. Going to grind the tabs off until that can push all the way in to where it needs to be. So I've ground all that, filed it, shaped it, had to touch up a little bit of weld because actually the original hole was like, the edge of it was almost out, right out past where I've ground it to. So you can see now, when I set that up, it's going to pivot. That gap is pretty, you know, it's not perfect, but it's much better how tight that gap is. I don't want to go too much tighter because you know, it's not going to be that precise, but you can see how this one makes its nice radius. You don't even really have to like measure it against something. And now this one, if you get it away from those markings, you can just see here that it starts to really, it's got making like a really nice radius again. And I'll lineage that later. Okay. And I think that's where we're at. We're going to go, so I'm going to mark that, hole, and I'm going to drill it. I'm going to mark it on both sides, and then put it in the vise, get it straight, and just drill all the way through. All right. taken all the burrs off here. So that's nice. We've got a hole again. I mean, it's not perfect, but that one goes in there. See how that would go. And this one goes in here. Oh, I reckon it's going to go nicely. You can just see that it's, oh no, yeah, it's not quite, the hole's just not in exactly the right spot. So I'm going to just take, it's not this gap, it's these horns here. So I'm just going to take the slightest bit out of in here. You can see how they're not even. I'm going to take down some of this inside here. You can see it binding on that bottom one because they're not even. What I'm going to do. Okay, much better. I can see the holes lining up. I don't think it's going to bind anywhere. You can see there. I'll hold that up for you. Hole's going to line up. Pivots all the way around. I can't see it binding anywhere. I'm going to put the pin in. So here we go. This one and that one. These pins have a lead-in edge on them. See this edge? That's the one you want to go in first. I went a 6mm hole. There's a 6.2mm pin. Right, that's nice. It's tight, but it's not so tight. It doesn't particularly snag. I don't want it to be that loose just now because it will already, for me, just doing that, it's getting looser and looser. Right, so we'll just work that a bit. And that is, I reckon, much, much better. We may have to drill that hole out just a little bit. Oh, it's freer even just to put it together like that. I'm going to put that pin in. Lay it out flat. And put the pin back in. See what happens this time. Ever so gently. Oh, better. I still think it's that pin. I reckon these old pins and the holes, they're different. They would have been different sizes. This one's even worse than I thought. Look at that hole. No wonder it's not sitting straight. The holes are sloppy jalopy. Alright. We'll weld him up too. So okay, so I've got that one sorted, and it's now a lot freer. Okay, I had an idea. I took the 6mm drill bit and I just sort of reamed out the two middle tabs there. This one and this one, which wasn't that good it was alright, but it turned out just freed it up that little bit. And it now creates a really nice radius. I went ahead and did this one as well. it's now got a nice radius. If you get it in just the right spot, it now creates a really nice radius as well along that edge there. And then if you put it into this scroll here, just lay that out. If you put that in the right spot, bolts out the way. There we go. If we put that in here now, it really sits nicely on the scroll all the way around. Now everything's not like completely tight, the scroll's not pulled tight as it would normally be, but it's, you know, before it would go like this and everything, so that's, you know, that's much better. We're going to give it a linish, we're going to give it a tidy up, and we'll give it a linish, we'll give it a tidy up, and I think that's the job done. Okay, so that's it. I gave it a linish up. I gave it a bit of a tidy up. Still got a bit of a rock in it from the previous guy. Like it doesn't quite sit flat in some spots. I don't know how critical that is. I don't think it matters that much. I mean, it'd be beautiful if it was like perfectly machined straight like it was before, but I don't think it's a big deal. And we've got diminishing returns here on this thing. So you see here now, they're all nice and free, and they all form. You can all get them in a night. There's a nice radius there. Okay, there's this one. There's another. They're not perfect radiuses, but I mean, I think that's the idea. Is they're meant to just, you know, they're meant to for that. This is one of the bad ones from before. Okay, this one was. Yeah, that one's not too bad. Oh, there's another one there. All right, this one's about the worst one, but I mean, I'm not redoing every single one of these. That one's okay. This was a shocker. I could nearly get my finger in there before. So this one's really nice, and that end one. And now when you wind it up, it's all sort of symmetrical. When you wound it up before, this one was like not even touching. It was so kicked out that it was in the wrong spot. And then if we lay it in this jig here, if we lay it back in there, let's put you there. So if we lay it back in this jig, yeah, and you know, I don't know how critical this is. It's not perfect, right? It's not machining. That's blacksmithing, right, with this machine. So any of you laid in here now, they, you know, it sits in nice. I mean, I'll have to check with him. I think this is what he wants. I don't know. Yeah, we'll get that out to him, and I'll see if we can get a shot of it out there. Yeah, so you can see there now, it's like touches everywhere on the jig, and before it was like bits missed, and this was like almost, you know, it was shocking. So it's, I think we've done a good job. All right, there you go. That's an interesting project for today. If you maybe you got something similar to this, you know, a bit of drilling and welding and what have you, but maybe it's interesting, maybe it's not. But yeah, it's we'll take it out there to Rene's and get it on the machine and give it a shot and give his see if we can't get a shot of it running and in action. And yeah, other than that, good project. Happy project.